bag today with a box pleated DIY skirt, okay? And I don't know about you, but I have looked just about everywhere on the internet to find the right formula or the right recipe or the right mix of things to do to get a box pleated skirt that fits, all right? And so I got frustrated. And so I figured out that if I just figure it out myself, regardless of the fact that I didn't want to because I've never been good in math, I just figured if I did it myself, then maybe I could get it to work right. Okay, so it took me employing the help of 2 different math teachers at my school that I work at. Thank the Lord for them, to get this formula right. You know, and I've tried before to do it myself, and I just couldn't figure out what I needed to get what I needed. All right, and so that's the biggest thing, is figuring out what you need to get what you need. All right, so what we're gonna do is go over the math of it. All right, and I promise you, unless you do something wrong, and you know, by no means am I perfect, but I have done this, I have messed up, I have almost pulled my hair out. Yeah, my fake hair. No. And I have got frustrated and tried it over and over again. So I've just about ironed out all the kinks. Hopefully this will work for you. It worked for me. What I'm going to be using is a plaid material because I kind of want that schoolgirl flirty look. You know I'm all about the flirty look. So that's what I'm going for, is more of that look. We're going to do basically inverted pleats, all right? Because that's basically what you see now. A lot of people get it confused, and that was where part of my confusion came in at, is that realizing that the actual pleats that I were making were on the inside for the type of skirt that I wanted to make and not on the outside. The outside was the actual inverted pleat. All right, so first, let's go over the math. There's no pattern to this. You're basically making your own pattern, all right? You're gonna need your waist measurement total, and that's gonna be the total, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. You're gonna need the amount of fabric that you need. I mean, because, you know, that's like all of it. If you don't know the amount of fabric that you're going to need, you know, then you'll mess up and you'll have a skirt that's either too big or too small. And you need to know the distance between the pleats. Now, out of all those 3 numbers, that I'm going to give you the formula for that, and I promise you, once you get this formula, it's going to help you make your box pleats. So, to get your waist measurement, your total waist measurement, and when I say total measurement, that is your waist measurement plus the ease of wear plus your seam allowance. You're going to take your natural waist measurement by arching, and wherever that arch falls at, that's where you're going to measure around your waist at, okay? Don't suck in, don't blow out, you know, because you're just not going to get an accurate measurement. Just relax, stand up straight, and take your waist measurement. Then you're going to take that measurement and add 1.5 to it. Now that's for your seam allowance for both sides, because we're not doing pockets. All right, and we'll get to that in a minute, how to alter it if you want to do pockets. But we're doing 1 piece of fabric, making our pleats, and our zipper's going to be in the back. All right, so you're going to take your waist measurement and add 1.5. That is going to be your total waist measurement. That's what we're going to be referring to every time we have to reuse that. All right, you need that before you do anything. All right, we got that formula. That's formula number 1. All right, formula number 2 is finding out the right amount of fabric that you're going to need. And I said this is of the uttermost important, because what's a box pleat skirt without the fabric that you need? All right, so you're going to take that waist measurement, all right, and you're going to add it times 3 times the amount of pleats that you want. And for this one, we're going to do 6 pleats. And the reason I say 6 inverted pleats, not pleats, 6 inverted pleats, is because you've seen the skirts that have 2 in the front, 1 on each side, and 2 in the back. That's 6. All right, so we're doing 6 just because this is the kind of look that I want to go for. If you want more pleats, then you add the number of pleats that you want in your skirt. All right, but that is important. So I'm going to put that formula up here. It is the waist plus the inches of the amount of pleats that are going to be on the inside, and for me that's 3, times the amount of inverted pleats that I want, and that's going to be 6. All right, the same amount of inverted pleats that you have on the outside is the amount of pleats that you're going to have on the inside. So regardless, it's going to be 6 for me is what I want. All right, and that equals the amount of fabric that you're going to need. Lastly, the formula that you're going to need last is how far apart to space these pleats. I mean, because that's important too. If you don't know how far apart to space it and you space it too far apart, then it's not going to work out. All right, and you're going to get way more fabric than you need, or way less fabric than you need. So to find the amount of space that you need in between each pleat, you're going to take your total waist measurement. All right, and then you're going to divide that by the number of pleats that you want. And in our case, it's 6. All right, and so I did that for mine, and this is what I got. Make sure you plug in your numbers accordingly. All right, so far you should have your waist measurement, your total waist measurement. All right, you got the amount of fabric that you need, so you need to run out to the fabric store now and get that amount of fabric. Right? And then you're going to need the distance between each pleat. All right, and now you're also going to need enough fabric to make your waistband. I would say about a ½ yard of fabric for that, since it's folded in half. You can unfold it and do your double-sided waistband. But the basic math, we have got to make sure that you follow these formulas to get your numbers that you need to put into your skirt. Now, I'll show you in the next part how to put it into your skirt and make your box pleated skirt. So, the tools that you're going to need for this project are some fabric, and make sure that you get it in whatever size that your formula came out to, or whatever inches that it came out to. Also include your waistband in with that. You're going to need a zipper. You're going to need some thread, of course. You're going to need some chalk to make your markings as you go. You're going to need a pair of good scissors, some interfacing, and you're also going to need a hook and eye closure. All right, let's get started. First thing you want to do is go ahead and spread your fabric out and cut the amount of inches that you need for your skirt based off of your formula. I'll be back in a sec. One thing that I forgot to mention that you're going to need with your tools is a ruler. All right, so put your ruler to the side for right now, and your chalk. And what you're going to do, I have my fabric all cut out, and for mine, like I said, it was 52.5 inches. Now, what I want to say right here is that if you want a fuller skirt in the bottom, then you may want to go ahead and make your pleats, the inch of your pleats, a little bit longer. All right, but for mine, I'm going to do 3 inches. Whatever you decide to do, make sure to plug your number in your formula. So the first thing you're going to do is take your fabric, once you've cut the amount of fabric that you need, and you're going to fold it in half. All right, now, I am aware that for your fabric, it's on the fold. All right, so you probably will have 2 pieces, or you should have 2 pieces. Now, if you want to cut on the fold and make yours just 1 piece, you can. For me, however, I want mine to be a little bit fuller so it's not see-through or anything, so I'm going to use 2 pieces. All right, so I'm not going to cut anything on the fold. I just cut out my 52.5 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and go from there. So once you fold it, and make sure that you have everything even, and that is the key, to make sure that you get everything even, or your measurements will not come out right. All right, then what you want to do first is take it to the iron and iron your seam all the way down, or iron all the way down on the fold. All right, you also may want to go ahead and once you line up your fabric, iron the top fold also, but make sure that you iron your folds. All right, now once you get all of your folds ironed out like I have here, you see my top fold, if you're using 2 pieces of fabric, and my side fold. I got it ironed out so that it will not slip. Now what I am going to do, just for the sake of making double sure that it does not slip, because that is very important, is I'm going to put a couple pins in the top of my fold so that while I'm working, it doesn't move around. All right, because you're going to be doing some measuring and then taking it to the sewing machine and all that good stuff. So I'm just putting a couple of pins on the edge of my fold, on where my fabric meets on one side, and on the top of my fold. All right, now the first thing that you're going to do is take your ruler, which I did forget to mention at the beginning, but we got it now, so that's all right. All right, and you are going to measure out 1.5 inches from your fold. All right, so you're going to put your ruler right against your fold, and you're going to go out 1.5 inches. Now that is if you're doing a 3-inch pleat. Like I said, if you wanted your dress to be a little bit fuller at the bottom, you can. I think that mine's going to be plenty full. But so for mine's, I'm going to do 1.5 inches. All right, and then you're just going to mark on the 1.5 inches and make sure you get all the way to the end of the fold. Alright, I'm just going to use my chalk. I'm just going to go 1.5 inches all the way down. Alright, once I get my marks, I'm going all the way down my fabric. Then I'm just going to take my ruler and lay it on the marks, going all the way down. I'm just going to draw a line going all the way down the fabric. This is going to be your stitch line. So go ahead and do that. Make sure you line it up with all your markings going all the way down the fabric. And then you're going to go ahead and draw your line going down. Alright, I'm not sure if you can see my line, but once you get your line drawn all the way down your fabric, then you are going to go ahead and run a large stitch or a wide stitch going all the way down your fabric. Alright, the reason for this wide stitch is so that when we finish with everything, we can take it out and we won't have to worry about picking it out. Alright, or picking out a very, very narrow stitch. So go ahead and do a wide stitch on your line that you just made with your chalk. Going all the way down. Alright, so I have my seam my stitch going all the way down 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is take that and I'm going to open up my fabric and I'm going to lay it flat on the ironing board and I'm going to iron that seam down so it's nice and flat. Alright, we'll be right back. Alright, once we get that ironed out, your seam should look like this. It should be nice and flat on the front. On the back, it should say lay nice and flat like that, and you should have just your little fold. Okay, so next thing you're going to do is work on your pleats. Alright, you're going to treat this like the middle because it is going to be the middle of your skirt. Alright, and then we're going to work on pleats on both sides. So let's start on this side first. Alright, so what you're going to do is take your ruler. And you're going to do similar to the same thing that you did with the first pleat, but you're going to go up under your fold all the way to the seam. Get a closer view so you can see that. So I'm going to put mine on the edge right along where my seam is, and you can see your seam running along there. Alright, and then I'm going to measure out, and this is where you go in between each pleat. So your first measurement is going to be 5.75 inches out. Alright, and for me that's going to be right on the edge of, well, right on this little mark right here, which there's your 6 and there's your 5.75. Alright, once I find that, then I'm just going to mark right on the 5.75. And you're going to do that marking going all the way down your fabric until you get to the end of your fabric, and then you're going to do the same thing. Line up your markings and draw your line going all the way down. Alright, so once you get your 5.75 measurement and you mark your line going all the way down, then you're going to measure out 1.5 inches from that line and make a line going all the way down, and then another 1.5 inches from that line and make another line. And I'll show you how that's going to look. Alright, so when you finish marking all your lines, you're going to have your 5.75 inch line. You're going to have your 1.5 inch line, and then you're going to have your 3 inch line. Alright, so from here to here should be 3 inches. From here to here should be 1.5 inches. And the reason why you need those 3 lines is because next thing you're going to do is take your fabric, fold it, and make sure that both lines, the 3 inch line and the 5.75 inch line, make sure that line and this line match. And then you're going to pin there, and then you're going to go down to the bottom, match your 5.75 inch line and your 3 inch line. Make sure those match as close as you can get them, and pin. And then you're going to iron in a crease. Now this is where your middle line comes in at, is because you want to make sure when you fold that that middle line is running down the center of your fold when you iron. Alright, that's going to help you keep everything nice and even. So find your line, and there's my line there. I don't know if you can see it. but it's right there. You want to make sure that that is on the fold when you iron. All right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I have made my crease with my line. I have one line on this side and my other line on the other side, and I have my crease or my middle line running along the crease. Now what you're going to do, take it to the sewing machine and do a long stitch going all the way down your line. All right, I've got in my second seam, and make sure again you use your wide stitch. All right, and then after I finish, I did the same thing that I did with my first pleat. I ironed it down so it was nice and flat, and then I turned it over on the seam and ironed that down so that was nice and flat. And that's the most important thing. And what you're doing on the outside, if you don't notice by now, is you're making your inverted pleats. All right, I have one pleat that's already made, inverted pleat that's already made, and it's 5.75 inches apart. All right, and then I have another pleat that I'm getting ready to start on. All right, on the inside you have two pleats that you've already done. All right, so what we're going to do now is do the same thing we did just a minute ago, is measure from your stitch line, measure out. Got to get my ruler, rats. You're going to measure out 5.75 inches again and make your markings going all the way down. Once you get that line done, you're going to do the same thing and draw out your line going all the way down, your 5.75 inch line. Alright, and I have my line. This is my 5.75 inch line. And yes, you guessed it, we're going to move over and do a 1.5 inch line from there. So do the same, honeys, and you guessed it, you're going to fold it in, match up your lines. Your 3-inch line now, and that's what your 1.5 inch lines were for, is to make your 3-inch line, and your 5.75 inch lines. Match those up together. Pin. Go to the bottom and do the exact same thing. All right. And then, yep, you guessed that also, take the line that you have, and when you iron your crease in, make sure that your line runs all the way down the middle of your crease so that you get a nice straight pleat. Alright, honeys, I have made both of my pleats, and I kind of did them this way so you can see. I've made my 2 pleats on this side, alright, and well, 3 on this side, my middle, and my 2 on the sides, alright, and then I'm going to turn around and do 2 more on the other side. Alright, ladies, so I am back, and I have finished my pleats on both sides. That's 1, 2, 3, which is the middle one, and then 4, 5, alright, and I flattened out all my pleats on both sides, so I have my hems flattened out. And make sure when you flatten everything out, or when you iron everything out, that you iron both sides. Alright, so next thing that we want to do, and I've already gone ahead and done mine just so you all can see, is from the last pleat on each side. I'll move this over so you can see. On the last pleat of each side, you want to measure out 5.75 inches, like I've done. Alright, and you want to put a mark there, and you want to go all the way down and do that, going all the way down. And hopefully you all can see my line, and I'll just bring it up so you can see it. But I've made my line going all the way down. Alright, and I've done that on both sides. So here's my line on that side. Alright, so after we've done our skirt and we've put that over to the side, what we're going to do now is do our waistband. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is take your extra fabric that you have and lay your fabric out. Alright, doesn't matter right at this point whether it's on the right side or the wrong side. My fabric is double-sided, so mine is already laid out correctly. Alright, and then you're going to take your skirt and lay it down on top of that. All right, and you want to make sure that you match up one end, or the end that's already cut, to one of the ends, and make sure you align your skirt nice and neat. All right, now what you're going to do is go ahead and cut your bottom fabric to match the length of your skirt. All right, so I got mine laid out the way I want it. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut it going all the way down the length of my skirt. And that way I make sure that it is the exact same size, or the exact same length of my skirt. Alright, so I have that cut. Now I'm going to move my skirt to the side since I have the correct length. And what we're going to do now is make your band. Alright, so I like for my band to be about 2 inches when it's all said and done. So I'm going to do it about 3 inches, and that's going to make for seam allowance and hemming and all the such. So let's just cut your band at 3 inches. And you can do it from either side. Alright, because we know that it's the length of it. So I'm just going to go all the way across and measure at 3 inches down. And then I'm going to just simply do the same thing that we did on our skirt when we lined up both sides. Is we're going to come all the way across and just make our line going all the way across to the other side. Now, what you're going to do is cut that piece out. Now I'm only doing a 2-inch band, and I'm just cutting that 3 inches to make sure, to take into account seam allowance that you lose when you double it up, and the seam allowance that you use when you sew it to your actual garment. All right, and then I'm just going to lay my piece that I just cut over the first piece, over the second piece rather, and we're just going to cut that out also. Alright, so I have cut my 2 pieces of interfacing. I cut my 2 pieces of cloth for my, cloth for my waistband, and I went ahead and ironed on my interfacing, and you should know how to do that. Put your iron on steam setting and iron over your interfacing, the sticky side down or the rough side down onto your fabric. And so this is how my 2 pieces look. Now what you're going to do is put your right sides together like so. And then you're going to go ahead and stitch going all the way around your band. And you're going to leave your bottom portion open. Alright, go ahead and do that. Stitch all the way around. And then leave your bottom portion open so that we can turn it inside out and put it onto our garment. I got my waistband done. Now what I did was I went ahead and connected my pieces like I told you all. Alright, and then I folded them. I folded it. And I did, of course, I did a stitch on the 5/8 seam, and then I trimmed down my seam allowances. Alright, and then I went ahead and I folded it and ironed it going all the way around. Alright, and you make sure you trim your seam allowance just so there's no bulkiness or anything like that when you get ready to fold it in. Alright, so that's my waistband. So once you finish making your waistband, you're going to put that to the side. And then I want you to get your skirt out. Alright, and once you get your skirt out, I want you to fold it in half, right sides together. And make sure that all of your sides are lined up, all your raw edges are lined up. And you want to go ahead and pin your raw edges down so that they're matching all the way down your skirt. Alright, and I've already done that here. Now, what you're going to do next is that line that you drew going all the way down, which should have been 5.7 inches, 7.5 inches from your last stitch or your last hem or your last pleat. All right, 5.75 inches out. That's the line that you should have drawn going all the way down your skirt. What you want to do now is go ahead and run your seam going all the way down. All right, and make sure that you do that on a wide stitch because you are going to open that back up. That's your pleat. All right, I'll be right back. I've done my wide stitch going all the way down. The next thing that you want to do is take your stitch and open it up and iron your seam completely flat down. All right, and that's going to make your pleat for your neck. All right, so I have everything ironed down. Now, what you're going to do is take the part that you have ironed down, and if you notice, this is open, so you do have 2 raw edges instead of, unlike your other ones, having a puckle with no raw edges. With this one, you have 2 raw edges, and the reason is because you are going to use this part to leave part of it open for your zipper. All right, so this is the part that we're going to open this up as your pleat. This is the extra part is what we're going to use to attach your zipper. So what you want to do, even though you've ironed it open already, is go ahead and close it back up temporarily. If your zipper is 9 inches, then you want to take that away from however much your waistband is going to be. So if your waistband is 2 inches, remember we did 2 inches, and your zipper is 9 inches, you want to go down minus 2 inches. So in my case, I would go down 7 inches. All right, so I'm just going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure down from the top of my skirt 7 inches. And I'm going to make a mark right on the raw edge. All right, now what that's going to be used is because when you're stitching your 5/8 inch, you're going to stitch a long stitch going all the way down. And then when you get to that mark, you're going to do a regular stitch the rest of the way down. All right, that's going to allow for your zipper to go ahead and it's for it to be easy for you to open up your zipper part once you attach your zipper. All right, so I wanted to show you this part on the ironing board so you can actually see and get a feel for what we are trying to do. All right, so once you've done your 5/8 seam allowance, and you can see the division right here from my 5/8 seam allowance. Remember I told you to make sure that you do all the way down to your marking on a long stitch is what I did. And then once you get to where your marking is, then you change it up and do a short stitch going the rest of the way. All right, so I have it on my ironing board, and what you want to do is fan out your 5/8 inch, and you also want to fan out your puckle that's in between where you did your 5/8 inch and where your actual first stitch was. All right, and you're just going to mash it down so that it's fanned out and it looks similar to this. All right, and that's how we want to iron it. So I'm going to go ahead and press it down on my iron. Lay it on my iron, rather. I'm just going to get me a nice, even press. All right, so I wanted to kind of give you a visual before I laid everything down and I sewed everything together. So here's my 2 pieces. I have them laid down nice and flush, and if you can see that, this is my waistband, and this is the actual part of my skirt, and I just mashed up the hem lines, and then I just mashed it going all the way around on my skirt, and I pinned everything down so everything stays nice and in place when I sew it. And now I am going to take it to the sewing machine and make sure. Now you can do this 2 ways. You can either go ahead and do you a basting stitch going all the way across the first time just to make sure everything fits, but everything, if you did your calculations right, they should fit like mine is so far. And so if you don't want to, you can just go ahead and do a regular stitch going all the way around, but you should kind of be able to judge by pinning, and that's another reason to pin, to make sure that everything fits. All right, we are almost done. I have my waistband sewn all the way around, and what I'm going to do is go back and I did a basting stitch first, and again, you can go back after you do that and do a close stitch or a narrow stitch so that it does not come apart. And then the next thing that you want to do is lay your skirt down and attach your zipper. We are almost done. All right, so I have my zipper here. All right, and I'm going to just take my zipper and take it all the way to the top of my waistband. And I'm going to lay it down, and make sure that as you're pinning it down, you're making sure that it's even with your line, because you want it to come all the way down. All right, and it should come close to where you did your stitch, or where you did your notch, but right before you begin to sew. So go ahead and pin that down for me. Alright, so here's what you're going to do. Once you get your zipper pinned all the way down, then you're going to start your stitch, and you're going to, for all the way through the thickness, do your stitch all the way down past the waistband, right to the end of the waistband. Then once you get to the waistband, you're going to flip it up to hide the rest of the stitch, and stitch going all the way down. And you notice how I pulled it away from the actual fabric, or the thickness of the fabric, and I'm just going to stitch the rest of the way, going all the way down to hide the stitch. You're going to do the same on both sides, and when I come back, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so I have attached my zipper, as you can see here. I have it attached, and it goes down, and you can cut it down as far, you want to cut it all the way down to your notch that you made. But also, one thing that you do want to do is go ahead and add your hook and eye. And you can add it to the top just to close that little bit in. Alright, so the last thing that you have to do is, well, one thing that you want to make sure that you do is go in, if you have your serger, and serge around your edges just to clean those up and make those nice and clean. Alright, and then after you do that, the very last thing that we have to do is take out our pleats, which is, to me, the fun part. Alright, and you want to adjust your skirt. Right now mine is super long, so and that's kind of the way that I want it. I may cut a little bit off, but you want to go ahead and adjust that according to your length, how long you want it to be. And you really should have did that before. I wasn't sure on my length, so I kind of wanted to leave it long, and then I'll go back and cut it when I figure out how long I want it. But once you go ahead and take out your pleats, do this before you do this after you take out your pleats. Take your pleats out, and then do your rolled hem. Alright, and all your rolled hem is just go in one time, 5/8 of an inch, and then go in again, and then sew right along the edge of your roll. Alright, and then you will be done. Don't forget to go in and do all of your hems. Don't forget to go in and clean up all of your insides, and make sure that everything is nice and clean with your serger, or you can use, like I said, you can just trim it down, or you can use binding tape or whatever you want, but make sure that your inside always looks as good as your outside. Don't forget to tag MCC DIY. I'd love to see your creations on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram and my other social media sites are down below. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, and don't forget to comment. I'd love to hear your questions, and I'll do my best to answer.